with a look at the market for the week ending Friday, November 6, 2020. Been an interesting week, been a good week for stocks, if you're bullish on stocks. And before we begin, as usual, we bring up a disclaimer and I'd advise you to take a look at it. Realize that I'm doing this purely for educational purposes. It's not an attempt to give any particular person investment advice. I couldn't possibly do that. I'm not even a professional investment advisor. I'm a psychologist, and I do this for my own purposes. So let's begin by looking at some charts as usual. Okay, so we start as usual with a weekly chart of the S&P 500. I use this as a measure of the general market, the S&P 500, but sometimes we use the Nasdaq and we use the QQQ as an ETF for the Nasdaq. But we start with the weekly chart of the S&P, and you can see that the 4 EMA, 4 exponential moving average, the yellow line, it remains above the 9, which is bullish, an indication that we still have an uptrend on the weekly chart. If insofar as moving averages are concerned, the ones we're using here anyway. So last week 2 weeks ago, we had a bearish bar. Parabolic went above the bar, indicating that we are likely to have more of a downtrend. But last week we reversed that. Parabolic went below the bar. So now we have a very bullish bar. It's almost a bullish engulfing bar, but it's not quite, because the low is not equal to the body of this bar here. So the body of this bar, the low here, is not equal to this. But it's pretty much a bullish engulfing pattern. So insofar as the moving averages are concerned, we still have an uptrend on the weekly chart. Now, if you go to the Williams percentile with the 30-day period that I use, you can use various periods. The default is 14. You can see that since we crossed above the minus 50 magenta line here, which was what, April 17, we remained above it. The Williams percentile remained above it. So if you're an investor, and you're guided by the Williams percentile, you remain in the market, and you don't look to sell. I'm more of a trader, so I've been trading back and forth. Last week I bought and sold, you know. MACD histogram is interesting. We had a bullish buy signal here on the daily chart when we crossed above the zero line and the bar turned green, and that was here. And you can see that from here we had a nice uptrend. Now the MACD seems to be losing some strength. One might say that the bulls seem to have lost some strength here in the last couple of weeks, for some time now, and it became bearish here. But we don't take our sell signals from this one, we take it from this one. The 1939.9 is the one we take sell signals from. So we still haven't had a sell signal. So on the 939.9 MACD and on the moving averages on the chart here, we still don't have a sell signal, really. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Let's go to the daily chart. Now on the daily chart, you can see that the moving averages crossed above each other here. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. On Wednesday, the 4 crossed above the 9 crossed above the 30 on Friday. So insofar as the moving averages are concerned, we have now switched to an uptrend. Parabolic also switched to below the most recent bars, and so parabolic is indicating an uptrend as well. What else? Well, that's about it there. Now, we should point out that we made a high here back in September. We made a high here which was in October, and now we seem to be approaching that high. And notice that in each case, when we got this high, we pull back. We got this high, we pull back. Are we going to do the same thing here? One never knows. Do one. but it's likely that we're going to see a bit of a correction. If we do, it might very well turn out to be a good buying opportunity. Perhaps price will come back here, somewhere between these moving averages, and we get another good buying opportunity, especially if we hold above that 50 moving average, 50-day moving average. Okay. Now, if we go down to a Williams percent hour, we can see that Williams once again crossed above the magenta line. And so that is consistent with this bit of an uptrend that we started here. Now, MACD, the 1226.9, the one we take buy signals from, started trending up back here. That was the first shortening of MACD histogram, this bar here, and that was on 11/2, November 2nd. So that was early in the week. That was on Monday. All right. And since then, it's been trending up from below the zero line. Then we got a buy signal. And we got an even bigger one here, an even bigger bar here on Friday. MACD histogram, the 1939.9 is the one we take sell signals from. So that wouldn't play any role here right now. Okay. Before we leave this, let's look at the hourly chart. It was the hourly chart that I discussed last weekend, and one that I used very productively last week. For example, we had a low here of the price. S&P made a low. MACD made this low. S&P rallied, made a breakout here, but it turned out to be a false breakout. It pulled back and made another low. But this low was higher than this low on the MACD histogram. So you had a divergence from this low here being lower than that, and this low being higher than this. Well, what I did was on Monday, I was very attuned to the market, and so I bought up quite a few stocks here on Monday, and then I held them until about Thursday when the market flattened out. Somewhere toward the end of the day on Thursday, I started selling and taking gains, and on Friday I did the same again. I still have a couple of stocks, but I took some nice gains last week because, and it's a big number. Let's put it that way. All right. So let's take a quick look at some of the stock charts that we often look at. This one here is, well, let's start with Apple. You can see that Apple made a high, pulled back, made a low high, pulled back, and is trending up again. I don't own Apple at this time. Here's the new high, new low index. It's a weekly chart, I believe it is. Yes. And you can see that since we had this big pullback in 18, December of 18, and then another one here in March, we stayed pretty much at this level. And so the new high, new low index is indicating that this market is still pretty healthy. In an uptrend, trending up nicely. Here's the impulse indicator. You could see that we are on green bars now, which prevents us from going short. We are not allowed to short here. We are only allowed to hold or go long, according to the impulse indicator. And if you look at McClellan has trended up, and it's now in bullish territory here. And if you look at the percentage of stocks of the S&P 100 above the 200-day moving average, it's now at 71%. Anything over 65 is really bullish. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Let's take a look at. So return to Shaken Analytics, and the first thing I'll show you here is the what is called the dashboard of stocks. And we can look at various watch lists on the dashboard. We can switch from one to the other. Very neat. Well, here's the one that I use as my watch list, current watch list that I keep. And I've traded many of these stocks last week. I traded most of them and had a good week. Made a nice big number. This one, a friend of mine referred me to. Friend Jeff referred me to this one. They do security for the federal security agencies computer security for the federal agencies, and it has had a big run up. It might pull back here, but I did a day trade on it for a nice gain. And I also traded FVRR, bought and sold it. Did the same with, let's see, with ARKK and a few others. So that's what we see here. Let's look at the workspace on these stocks, and we can see which ones of them are oversold. So you can see that Archer Daniel Midlands is oversold, and it's now sitting somewhere close to the 21-day average. So it's when it's oversold like that that we consider buying it. Best Buy, I did sell Best Buy as it trended up all the way up here. I did sell it as it came close to that upper oversold line here on the channel, but it's still in the neutral zone. LAD I haven't had, but that one was trending up nicely. NIO, I did take some profits on it. I find this is too much of a parabolic move here for me to continue to hold it, although I could be wrong. I wouldn't say dead wrong because I don't like that, but wrong. Here's one that we've been looking at, and I did have it. I traded it. It was oversold. It went up, and I sold it. Here's one that I like. This is an ETF, Wisdom Tree ETF, and it's been oversold, and now it's in that neutral territory, but it has room to run before it becomes oversold here. I wouldn't worry about Accenture, but Accenture is also in that category. Adobe is bullish, and it's been in a bit of a trading range here. I haven't been buying it. FedEx, I still own it. Yes, I still own FedEx. I bought it when it became oversold, and I still own it. So that's one that I still own. As I said, I traded FVRR when it became approaching the overbought region here. I did take my big profits on it, big ones. IPO is the same. I was oversold. I bought it, and I sold it somewhere in here. Lowe's, we'll see if I think it's oversold. Yes, it's oversold. It had a move already, but it can still go up higher from here. Microsoft is in the same category. Many of these stocks were very oversold, and then they gained a bit last week. You can see that by this move here. Okay, many of them. Online, this ETF, same thing. Okay, Synopsys, I owned that one, but I did sell it as it hit the upper line here. Target, I don't own anymore. I don't think I own it. I must check that out. I did trade, not Apple, but APPS, but I sold it up here, see? So I took a nice gain here on ARKK, I still own it. Maybe I had it and I sold it and bought it again. I did buy back AKK when it was in the oversold region here. Let us see what else. CDNS, Cadence Design, I did trade it. I bought it, held it, and sold it up here when it got up there. Let's see what else. Tesla, I don't own right now. I held on to Tesla too long, and it hurt me in this area here. Is this September? No, in September. I held it too long in September, and by the time I sold it, I had given back a whole lot. Lesson learned. So that's about it. Wayfair, by the way, had a nice move. It was oversold, and it had a nice move up from this area here after it declared earnings. And let's see, Peloton. No, this is Palantir. Palantir. That's the one that I day traded. See, this is this is a very parabolic move. So my friend Jeff told me to take a look at this, and I said, I'll day trade it. So I bought it sometime during the day, and when it ran up here, I took profits on it. Made a nice little gain. Well, that's about it, guys. We'll try to do this again next weekend. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.